should tell him.
Oh, that's what I and
inferring that your husband.
oh, yes.
I have I was feeling that acutely on Saturday when I was the only one responsible for doing all the cash. He was out there. It's tough to be.
So it just sat. So it just sat in the fridge.
It did.
Yeah. That's something that would happen in my house.
But my point being, there are 5 grades.
Yeah.
That decided everybody else would have thought that.
Yeah. I totally. I don't know. Maybe they're totally.
Sorry, I didn't need to just start right
Joe, you're not gonna show the crane. I really wouldn't show the crane.
Huh?
I wouldn't show the crane.
I did.
I think I'd leave that out.
I was judicious.
Does it need to be a black pen or?
I used purple one, so,
All right, just check it as I write.
so I'm certain that we will.
Oh, it's about the day I go to the
Yeah, a lot of people have said that.
I might need to.
There's somewhere going.
It's been a busy one. The
Actually,
vacation
it doesn't take
extends
that
the end of the week. which is like 2 weeks off and should be around. We go up to New Hampshire to sit on
Jack,
the lake for one of the
Can you
weeks.
do me an enormous
And the
favor
other week, we go to a couple of
Try to
trips here and
track
there,
down
drag you like set up to go hike
and ask if
Washington,
they'll jack up
hike in the
easy
woods
in
up
here?
there.
Sure.
My gut is
That should be
an auto show.
I'm looking forward to that.
No.
But,
Yeah, I'll see if I can find somebody.
I think we're gonna have to change that week.
At this time, they, a lot of times, Jay, at this time, they're in the teachers' lounge having a supper like. I normally have town meetings at.
We're like, he's like, he's like, I'm just running cross country. So. Yeah, of course.
I love Mississippi State.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't know.
You do a nice job.
Yeah, yeah.
The only way he would have been going to Ole Miss is with a full vote.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a good friend of mine who might have told you this, that
Okay.
he went to Duke with me, and his son is going to be from North Carolina, born and raised, you know, Duke Blue, all that.
Are you guys ready to sign?
Went there, yeah, almost. And he it just really good, just basically. His son, let's see right now. Yeah. I'm ready.
You
Sorry.
good now?
I'm all okay.
Okay, so we're going to call the meeting to order at 7:04, and we'll start with the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start with a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, so the agenda is approved. And moving right on to approval of open session minutes from June 20th, 2016. Did everyone have a chance to read them? Do we need a motion?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of June 20th, 2016.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so they pass. Community comments? Anyone wish to make any comments? Okay, moving right along to superintendent.
All right, well, good evening. As I put in my background notes to the committee, just as an FYI, and it's something that we're trying to address now, for some reason, this year through this spring and this summer, we have an unprecedented number of requests for both the before and after school care program. And I put the numbers both at Misco and Memorial. Both programs before school and after school are maxed out. As a result, we've got 10 families on a wait list for the morning program and 15 for the afternoon program. We're trying to look at some creative solutions, possibly something at Pluff, because of those 10 families for the morning program, I think 8 of them are Mendon families. But one of our big considerations is space and finding appropriate space for the program, and then also staffing. If you think about it, finding somebody to work a block of 2 or 3 hours early in the morning, hours from something like 7 to 10 or 7 to 9 is a real challenge. We've put an ad in the Milford Daily News and then also to Milford and the Mendon-Upton Town Crier, plus we have some online employment sites that we're advertising as well. So I'll keep you posted on that, but it's something that we're looking to address. Second piece I put in your background notes, we had a wonderful couple days as a leadership team this year in Falmouth, back on July 18th and 19th, a couple weeks ago. Really, as we do every year, taking stock of where we were the last school year and then planning forward for 16-17. I'm going to touch a little bit upon that when I go through our final status update of our action plans. But as I say, a substantial portion of the 2 days was kind of taking a look at our qualitative and quantitative data, kind of taking into account some of the K-12 insight data that we very recently got back from all of our stakeholders. And I put there what our thinking is right now about our 5 initial goal areas. Some of these goal areas are carryovers from the previous year, particularly the work around curriculum and assessment. But you'll also notice kind of addressing, kind of taking stock of our resources and programming with regard to student social emotional learning. It's a major emphasis nationally, but also statewide into looking at additional resources for social emotional learning. So I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But again, carryover of improving what we're doing with regard to streamlining communications, improving our curriculum, improving our use of common assessments, and also furthering what we're doing with regard to the inclusion model at all levels. So, like I said, a little bit more on that later, but the game plan would be to bring forward district action plans and school improvement plans before the committee for approval at our meeting on September 12th. Okay. And then last but not least, I'd like to give an update on a substantial amount of work that's been done this summer. We've had a lot of work crews in all 4 buildings, and I figured, the old expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words. One of our largest jobs, if you've driven past the middle school, is the construction of the solar carports. And I gotta say, they're going up real quickly. Within the last 2-3 weeks, we've had the drills that have put in the concrete pylons. We've had the steel girders delivered, and within the last week to a week and a half, you can basically see the basic framework of them being constructed. And I believe this is just from this morning. So the parking spots right by central office, you can see the basic framework. And essentially, we're at the place where the solar panels are ready to be connected. And obviously the cleanup. So we're looking at, and I included in your packet a timetable from RBI Solar, the contractor for the project. And we're looking at the completion of all construction by the end of next week. We're probably going to need another 6 weeks after to get the final hookup to our meter at the school, and then also approval for National Grid. So that's progressing very, very nicely. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, they seem to be moving right along. I think the only thing that's going to slow things down is National Grid getting out there to do their like interconnection and allow it to go online. And that sometimes takes much longer than you'd expect it would. But I'm optimistic they'll be operational sometime in the fall.
Okay. A second project that I think we brought forward, I want to say back in February to the committee, you might notice it's a tad brighter in here. The reason that it's a tad brighter is all of our light fixtures across the district have been replaced with LED lighting. Okay, so that project is ongoing right now. So literally every single fixture has been removed. I took this actually out of Clough this morning, and are being replaced with LED fixtures. You could probably see them for most classrooms right over there where it says high expectations. They've all been replaced with a single LED tube. We've made terrific progress with regard to that as of this morning. It's about 75% complete here at Nipmuc. Just about all complete at Memorial with the exception of 14 fixtures. MISCO is just about all complete with the exception of the auditorium and some of the stairwell fixtures. And then Clough is probably about a third complete. It actually started today, and about half of the second floor is complete. So progressing very, very nicely. It's anticipated that entire project will be complete by the 22nd of August. So that's going very well. And then last but not least, if you had the opportunity to walk through MISCO, you just see this massive maze of wires. Joe Lakeview shared the fun fact with me that at MISCO right now, they are putting down 100,000 feet of new data and phone wire. So to put that in perspective, that's approximately, 19 to 20 miles of cable. MISCO had the greatest need because it had some of the oldest wiring, but the essence of this project is improving our Wi-Fi capability at all 4 schools. So both of our elementary schools have been rewired already, as have the high school, and also an increase in an upgrade of our wireless access points all throughout the schools. The game plan, once it is complete, is that our 2 schools in Upton and our 2 schools in Mendon each will share 1 gigabyte per second per 1,000 students of bandwidth. Okay, that's a significant increase because right now each school has approximately 100 megs per student, per second per 1,000 students. So significant increase. I think Joe Lakeview and his crew deserve a lot of credit because they've been flat out this summer with a lot of the work. We also have been upgrading, as you know, all of our desktops that were on lease with HP. So if you were to go into schools, you would see that they're on pallets, they're neatly packed up, and in their place in our offices and our labs are brand new HP desktops that are running Windows 10. We found, Jay, and you can touch upon this, our old desktops are being sold off, correct?
Yeah, there's a company that's called CEI Wholesale. They basically
sell refurbished computers. They're buying all of our old stuff, $35 a piece. So we'll make it about 12,000 plus for those. It's pretty good. HP will take that within the first one. Either way, there was no cash loss. Picking them up, I think, week Tuesday, which is why they're being packed up on pallets. So that's how we're getting rid of all of those.
So then last but not least, with regard to our tech staff, of the 240 MacBooks for our professional staff, about 190 of the 240 have already been disseminated to our staff. I think we have, as far as our professional staff, a whole continuum of comfort level and skill set moving to the Mac platform. As a result, Anthony Amatrano has provided training through a series that he's called Mac Boot Camp, so to speak. You don't get injured at that, Kelly. On June 22nd and 23rd, and then throughout this month of August, last Thursday, and then again on the 11th, the 18th, and the 24th. So giving our professional staff some of the basics on Mac, but then also some of the basics in the transition to the Google Apps for education and also the transition to Gmail. So very positive feedback on that. And time very well served. Okay. Any questions on any of that? Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving along to subcommittee updates. I believe we've had any subcommittee updates, am I correct?
Not unless subcommittees have been feverishly working.
I don't believe that's been
Working
happening.
in the month of July.
Don't recall any of that. Okay, so on to new business.
Okay, we are delighted tonight to have essentially our English language learner department here. All two of them. We've got Kelly Blaine and Deb Coyle. Kelly provides services to students at Clough and MISCA, and Deb provides services at Memorial and at the high school. I've got to say, the two of them do an outstanding job in the services that they provide, but the relationships that they craft with their students. And Kelly is going to talk a little bit about what they do, what it looks like, and then touch upon some data that's very, very promising that kind of shows, you know, the quantitative piece of how well our kids are progressing. You know, as I say in the background notes, I know my first year here, we had all of 8 ELLs. It's now kind of consistently in that 24 to 30 range. I know you guys are very successful in flipping a lot of our students. And again, the data shows that these kids are becoming more and more proficient. So I'll turn things over to you, Kelly. I don't know if you want to drive, you can just use this. Just push to the right to advance it.
Is there any places to go?
If you want to sit, if you want to stand, wherever you're comfortable.
Okay. I just want to say, to start, thank you, Joe, for saying those nice things about what we've been doing with our English language learners. It's very nice to be standing here in front of you all tonight, speaking about our program. It brings me a lot of pride to do so. I'm very happy that Deb is here with me as well, because we have seen lots of really positive things with our students. So I'm happy to present that to you tonight. So of our EL students, English language learners, we actually now lovingly refer to them as ELS. It's changed over the course of time. Our acronyms tend to change every couple of years. But our ELS now consist of students deriving from countries such as Brazil. We have students that are from Egypt, native US-born students, but their home languages range anywhere from Arabic, Spanish, French, Greek, Mandarin. We have a couple of the Indian languages and dialects that are spoken at home. the students that we have in our program are considered in many cases bilingual and almost achieving in a couple of cases multilingual status. So it's really impressive that we have these students that are becoming proficient in English and speak these other languages at home as well. So we have 24 students as of the 2015-2016 school year. We did have some fluctuation, but we do, like Joe said, we do remain at about a 24, 25 average number of students. We do have some transient students that come in and out of the district. We saw that this year with a few families from Brazil that came in and then moved on and are now living in Milford. Our mission, the mission of our program essentially is to support these students and give them the services and help and support that they need to obtain English language proficiency, but also it's not just the academic support, it's not just to provide the support in the English language, it's also to support the cultural transition that they may have, to provide support to parents who may need language support as well. And it's our goal in the district to follow the DESE's recommendation in terms of how we service our children. And that is a model that I'll speak to in just a second. We provide the language and academic supports to enable our ELS to become proficient and meet their academic standards in a timely manner. And by saying, what I mean when I say that is the data on language acquisition can range from 5 to 7 years for a student to come as a newcomer, for example, and to obtain proficiency. So when we say in a timely manner, it really does depend on where the student was in their language development when they arrived and what grade they're in when they arrived, what their age is, and there are a lot of factors that play into that. But we certainly look to make strides in a very, I would say, at a rigorous level, but also keeping in mind the other factors that play into that. We want to address their linguistic, academic, and non-academic needs across their entire school trajectory. So we want to support these children while they're in the program with us, of course, but even after they exit the program, we monitor them for now up to 4 years. It used to be 2, and now we're monitoring them for 4 years after to make sure that as they're going up in grade level and their academic rigor is increasing and what their expectations are on them are increasing, that we're still there to make sure that they're doing okay. And if we were ever in a situation where we noticed a child struggling, we as a team could decide to bring them back into the program and support them again if need be. Fortunately, we have not seen a situation like that because the ones that are exiting the program, or as Joe mentioned, flepping, which was a term that we used to use, now it's FEL, former English learner. When we get to that point where we consider felling them, they are at a very good place. Their language is strong. We're noticing their grades are strong. We're getting the feedback from teachers. We're using other data like MCAS results to really make the decision that they're ready to move on. So fortunately, we haven't come into a situation where we've had to pull a student back into the program. However, that is an option for our students to give them that cushion, if you will, if they need a little bit of support as they go up in grade level. And of course, to support the participation of the parents in their education, that's very important. We want to encourage the parents to be a part of district-wide events that we host. We try to encourage them to come out to things at the schools, provide any sort of communication that in terms of translation and interpretation, just to make sure that they are feeling that they are a part of their child's education. So our services, we provide essentially a pull-out service for our students, and we use the WIDA Consortium Standards and Assessment Framework, which was adopted as we are now, I believe it's at least 38 strong, if not more, of the states in our nation follow the WIDA standards. And we use these standards to help with their language development in all 4 content areas. across language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies, as well as their social and instructional language. And the WIDA framework includes not only the standards that we follow in instruction, but it includes their assessments, benchmarks, and our annual language proficiency test, which is called Access for ELLs. We provide the assessment and benchmark information to classroom teachers. We also provide this to parents, administrators, to make sure that everybody is knowledgeable of where our students stand in their language proficiency and how they can take that information and support them in the classroom. And interpretation for our families as well. Our reports come in the all the languages of our students, and we follow up and update with our families on a regular basis of how the children are doing. So our process, once Deb and I screen and identify that the student is an English language learner, we will have to give them a preliminary test. It's our if they come into the district from another state, we often find that they have this information at hand, but if it's a new student coming into either kindergarten or into the country for the first time, we will give them this model. It's called the model test for our own knowledge to determine what their starting proficiency level is. And this helps us determine where we start in terms of services. Once we have that, based on their grade level and their current overall language proficiency level, we will pull them out on a one-on-one or small group type of situation and work with the students. Unfortunately, we are hindered sometimes with schedules and servicing multiple schools, but we've found a very good, I think, very effective way to work with the classroom teachers in pulling out the students. We've had a lot of support in that. We find that between Deb servicing the Upton schools and myself and the Mendon schools, we've come to a very comfortable, I think, working schedule with our students. So it's been quite effective. And based on their grade level and language ability level, the differentiated instruction takes place to improve their listening, speaking, reading, and writing. It's our goal to work on improving all those areas, and then assessing them after the fact in an annual test that we give them called Access for ELLs, to then be able to track how they are progressing and to make sure that we are working and striving towards getting them to that next level and so on. We were very happy and we were pleased to receive a budget, and Jay is, I'm a big fan of Jay. He helps to keep guiding us to figure out how we can continue to obtain resources for our students and for the program. As of last year, we had big strides in that. And we adopted a new textbook series for our students through National Geographic Learning. And it's at each of the schools. Each level has their, you can see here, Reach for elementary, Inside for middle, and the Edge series is at the high school. And in addition to that, we also purchased and installed a software program called Imagine Learning, and that's predominantly for students in grades K through 6. It can be stretched a little further depending on the student and their language ability levels, but it is a wonderful interactive program that the students can use on their iPads. It can be used in the classroom as an additional type of, it can be a session that they have in the classroom. It can be something that they do with us, and they can even work on it at home as a way to improve their literacy. And it's very fun, and the children enjoy it. It also provides actionable data and intervention strategies and activities for us as the facilitators and teachers. It allows us to track the students' progress, which is wonderful and necessary, and we can share the information with teachers and parents through reporting as well. And then we get to what is our big kind of MCAS time of year, where we have to give the students their Access for ELS test, and it covers the whole range of levels for our ELLs, from entering, which is basically a non-speaker, all the way up to reaching being a proficient student. And you can see here that there are 3 tiers, and we determine what tier they're in based on their current level, and we assess the student and our ultimate goal is to get the student to the bridging and reaching level where they can exit the program, and then they'll be considered FEL and will be monitored. So from our data this year, we're noticing that our scores are following a very nice trend, like Joe had mentioned, where our overall score from 2014 compared to now in 2016, the majority of our students went from the emerging level now to the expanding and bridging. So we are seeing these children, when they started being in these lower levels, working on up to the point where we've already made the decision to FEL a few, and a couple of more. We're waiting on the MCAS results for their English language arts to help determine, give another piece of data to help determine whether they are ready to exit the program. So we're seeing a very nice trend of our students' growth with that. And you can see here that nice incline. It's at 76% for our students, for students making progress and growth. And we are also tracking SGPs through the state to determine not only are we looking at our scores that we receive from Access, but we're looking at the trend from year to year. Are they making that student growth percentile? And we're very, very pleased with the results of that.
Kelly, it says that making progress is defined as growth in all 4 components. What are the 4 components
Yes.
of Access?
The 4 components are listening, speaking, reading, and writing.
Okay.
And we do operate a lot with that overall proficiency level, but we do break down those scores to help determine how we differentiate our instruction for our students. We may need to support a student more in listening for one versus the reading and writing literacy component for another. So we really are operating on multiple grade levels, language ability levels, and even within their language proficiency, some students who are at a similar level may have different needs. Their speaking may need more developing than another, for example. So what the state is telling us that in order to determine that growth, it has to be in all 4 domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So we may have students that have improved in 2 or 3 areas, but not all 4. I'm very pleased to see that we're making this kind of growth and progress. And you can see here the median student growth percentile for 2016, and a nice leap from 2014 there. So our obvious aim and goal is to continue to help these children in their overall academic career. However, we do like to see that we're on a very good track with how they're progressing in their language in that timely fashion. We don't want to have too many long-term L's. We do realize that there are some cases where they hit a plateau. We see that from time to time. It's natural, but we do want to continue to maintain this nice trend that we're seeing here. So happy to report that to you all. And here are some of our students. I have to say that the 3 students that you see in these pictures are now no longer part of the program. So it's very exciting. As much as I'm going to miss them, and I enjoyed working with them. Jesus there is just exiting this year, and the 2 here in this first photo exited last year. So they are now FELs, and Jesus will be as of this current school year. So it's very exciting. And it makes me really glad to know when they say that they don't want to leave the program because they like to be pulled out. That's always a really good indicator for us that they're enjoying their time with us. And then, of course, one of my favorite parts, I'm sure Debbie as well, one of my favorite parts is learning about these students and their backgrounds and their cultures, and really being an advocate for them, but at the same time really celebrating who they are, where they come from, what makes them unique, and what they bring to Mendon-Upton. And this was a little pre-holiday break party that we had at the middle school, and all the students in this group brought something from home that was homemade and we all get to have a little feast. It was wonderful. So thank you very much for your attention this evening. If you have any questions, please feel free, and I appreciate your time. Questions?
I have a quick question. So when you're pulling them out, they're expected in a regular classroom to be keeping up with whatever curriculum is going on, and you're supporting that? Like, so you're kind of an extension of the curriculum that's going on in the classroom? This is just for personal, like.
No,
just to
that's a very
understand.
good question. That's a very good question, and it's something that a lot of people wonder and get confused about. When Deb and I pull the students out, we have our own English language development curriculum that we're working with them on to specifically work on improving their English language proficiency. So we don't necessarily work within the same curriculum as a classroom teacher. There are times when the teacher will let us know that they're having trouble in a particular area that we can help them, especially, for example, the student here at the high school. I know Deb will do a lot more to help Mateo when she knows that in his English class he's having issues with X, Y, or Z. And so we will do some of that kind of extra academic support, but ultimately our goal is to, when we have that time with them, is to work with them in our own English language development standards and curriculum. So, absolutely. Please.
Also, these students still receive, if they need them, they can still receive academic tutoring services. Some of them require special education, so they still are able to get those services with their regular curriculum if needed.
Okay. So it's a
So,
combination.
so your younger students, correct me if I'm wrong, are still with their homeroom teachers. They're still getting the Reading Wonders curriculum and
Yes.
so on.
Yes.
You're enhancing
Yes.
that piece.
But if they need assistance in those areas for the classroom curriculum, they can get the additional academic supports, is what you're saying.
Yes, so
So in addition
those teachers
to,
are in the classrooms now as an inclusion model.
right,
And they come in and they will just add those students to their readers.
great. So you're finding them to be successful, not only with you, but also in the classrooms.
Yes. And it's a wonderful thing that those academic tutors are working with the ELS as well, because that's giving that extra support to the classroom teacher when that's really not necessarily. I think there was that misunderstanding about what our role was
Right.
to start when this program was developing more as the number of ELS increased,
Yeah.
and as teachers were going through the SCI endorsement course and learning about how to work with ELS in the classroom. So that's been something that we've had to
Discuss and clarify, right?
Thank you.
If I could again just kind of underscore and sing these two ladies' praises, something that Kelly probably could have spoken all night about were these WIDA standards and how rigorous these WIDA standards. And if you really think about it, well, a good chunk of the WIDA standards have to do with academic language. So here's something that's a little bit mind-blowing, and I think we can have a healthy debate about the fairness of this. Our ELs that come to us, only ELs that have been in this country for less than a year are exempt from MCAS, the ELA MCAS. They're not exempt from math, okay? So if you think about it, think about a kid who just came here from, say, Egypt, or came here from Latin America. You can say all you want, oh, math, it's the universal language. If you're taking the math MCAS, there's these things called problems, word problems. So a real important and significant chunk of what Deb and Kelly do at the appropriate grade levels is teaching kids academic language, teaching them, and as a result, these guys have to know a lot of content at particular levels. You know, try teaching a kid, you know, using terms like factoring or, you know, and so on. And I'm sure they both could speak to at the high school level, it gets increasingly more complex when you're dealing with more complex subject material. So again, kudos. You kind of soft pedaled it, Kelly, but an SGP of 70 is off the charts because those 24 kiddos are being compared to their peers across the state. So it means their growth in 1 year is at the 70th percentile. That's the median, So outstanding, I could go on forever, but terrific work. And it's great to see this type of data supporting the good stuff that you're doing.
So I have a question, because you just triggered something. So is WIDA a set of standards for each level, or is WIDA a curriculum by which you need to structure the engagement and the teaching around?
WIDA is not a curriculum. In
Okay.
fact, that's something that is coming down the pike for us, is creating a curriculum using the WIDA standards.
Okay.
WIDA is a set of standards that covers the language content area, or the academic content areas. And that is something that was pretty hot and heavy this year at the meetings for ELL directors and coordinators, because it is coming down from the state that we will be using that to implement a curriculum for districts across
So
the
the
state.
curriculum now that you use that's generated this performance is the curriculum that the two of you have developed?
Yes, it stems primarily from the textbook series that we've adopted, and using that in tandem with the WIDA standards, and really working to develop that academic language, bridging that gap for the students.
Great.
That's amazing.
Thank
Great
you.
work. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Very happy to be able to speak with you tonight. Thank you.
A question that I had real quick is, once students reach FEL status, what method do you use to track them?
We use a monitoring form that the classroom teachers will receive twice a year, which asks how they're doing within the classroom setting. Their grades, of course, are documented on that. The teacher can give some feedback about how the student's been doing, how they feel their progress and growth is. And Debbie and I can go onto iPass. We can check regularly how a student's doing in the classroom with their grades. So it's mostly to do with checking with the classroom teacher twice a year and getting that documentation. But in between, we're still going on iPass. We're still looking at their grades. We're watching for any of those red flags. Yes, SRI, for example, is something that we'll pay attention to, how they're doing every term and so on.
And how often do you engage with them in the average week? A student?
Depending on their language ability level, it will determine how much we need to pull them out and how many hours we see them in a week. I would think the average student will see at least 3 times a week.
Okay.
And
And like a
then
beginning student would be
every day.
every day,
Some of
like
them
an hour?
have a couple of hours for some of them. Yeah.
So a newcomer, for example, will see them a couple of hours a day because they essentially have no language to work with. Whereas our level 4s and 5s, we want them to be in the classroom more. However, we'll pull them out for about a 45-minute session 3 times a week.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Deb.
Okay, well, it's, as I do a couple times a year, kind of giving you a status update of how well we've progressed in our annual goals, okay? You have the report in front of you. Instead of kind of ad nauseum going through every single action plan step, I just did a quick presentation. I'll run through the 5 essential goals and essentially just cover what we feel like we've completed and we've accomplished, and then the areas where we still have work ahead of us. So our first goal is, as I talked about before, the adoption and development of common assessments across all grade levels. So if you were to go through the specific key actions, I think areas where we had a lot of success was providing formal structures, from common planning time to data blocks across all elementary, middle, and high school. So our teachers could engage in that work in teams. Plus, as we've talked about before, it has been a PD focus for our district. We've had more and more teams use formal protocols to actually design assessments and then calibrate how they're scoring these common assessments. I'd say Maureen has done an outstanding job in giving more responsibility and leadership to the curriculum assistants that she works with on a monthly basis, and then them in turn bringing these protocols to teams of teachers. I had a great conversation with with Deb Swain today about the use of common assessments at the elementary level. 2 years ago now, we purchased the Reading Wonders series. The amount of assessments that come with the series is just mind-blowing. So this year, our elementary grade level teams came to consensus on specific common assessments that would be used in that series. And there's a lot of use of school-wide rubrics here at Nipmuc tied to their 21st century learning expectations. I think we made forward progress on DDMs, or district determined measures. Each of our teachers and professional staff have identified what they will be using for the upcoming year. We've put out some models of what low, moderate, and high growth would look like. I think though, like many districts in the state, we're really struggling with this, and I think we feel like we're in a kind of a state of limbo. It's hardly a military secret that the Senate, in its final approved budget, passed an amendment kind of getting rid of DDMs. It's hardly a secret that MTA, the State Superintendent's Association, and MASC all have been advocating for not using DDMs in the educator evaluation process. So we're pressing forward as a district, but to be very candid about it, it makes the work very, very challenging. Realized under the reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, or the Every Student Succeeds Act, we don't have to use student growth in the evaluation process. So there's been significant lobbying going on to the Department of Education, specifically Commissioner Mitchell-Chester, but he's kind of stuck to his guns, so to speak. So it's still very much up in the air whether we will be proceeding with DDMs. So we're being very intentional in saying, okay, the piece around DDMs is still up in the air, but the work of creating high quality common assessments and using that data will remain a priority for the district. As far as further work needed, again, the vision is to have parameter committees to vet potential DDMs, to provide greater detail in what low, moderate, and high growth would be. And again, the feedback we consistently get back from our teachers is we just need more time. We need more time and formal opportunities to do this work around assessment. Our second goal is, again, developing and refining our formal written curriculum. And the work over the last 2.5 years has been around our online curriculum mapping tool, the Rubicon Atlas. So we're at a place now where all of our courses, as far as stage 1, are in Rubicon Atlas, and they've been published. We've started the process and realized it's 3 stages. Stage 1 being kind of the standards and the content, stage 2 being the assessment, and stage 3 being instructional strategies employed. We started stage 2, and we've got more work to do in that area across all levels. I think, again, Maureen has done a lot of work with regards to PD and providing formal structures and formal resources to support the work. And again, across all levels, giving people job-embedded time, vis-a-vis grade level meetings, vis-a-vis common planning time, vis-a-vis data blocks to actually revise curriculum. As I said, as far as area of need, We still have to complete stage 2 and then publish it. Again, more time, more opportunities, and then something that you'll probably see in the goals for 16-17 is having more opportunities for vertical articulation. That is, more opportunities for our elementary folks to connect with our middle school folks, more opportunities for the middle to connect with the high school folks, to ensure there's cohesive strands in all of our content areas. Our third goal was, again, increasing full inclusion opportunities for all students. And I think our greatest successes really were at the elementary and the middle school levels, particularly in going to true co-teaching at MISCO, rather than just strictly a paraprofessional teamed with a content area. I know Ian and Dennis worked very intentionally in putting in right combinations of special educators and content area teachers. Our IEPs are being written and agreed upon so that they more accurately reflect the inclusion services that are being provided. And again, at the elementary level in MISCO, we've done a considerable amount of PD, but also having outside consultants, outside experts do some coaching one-on-one with our inclusion teams. So some great successes there. I think our needs, we need to do more work and really at the middle school, because last year was really the first year, but really here at the high school, because it looks very, very different, and some of the needs are very different as far as instructionally. Again, I think we need to take stock, those last 2 bullet points, and really kind of drilling down to a student level and looking at multiple data points as far as student performance data to see how effective and what's the difference been as far as inclusion and student performance. And then also ensuring that, again, there's that cohesive strand of what we're providing kids at the elementary level, the middle, and the high school. Our fourth goal was all around technology integration and smart, purposeful technology integration to improve professional practices and ultimately student learning. If you look at it, there's a lot of key action there, but just the dissemination and management of over 1,400 student iPads, now of which about almost 3/4 of those are owned and managed by the districts. Considerable amount of work, about a five-month process in developing and completing a new 5-year technology plan was one of our key actions. I would say the second primary focus of our PD activities was around technology integration. And part of that really kind of ties into getting our teachers to think about technology integration in a smart, strategic way. And I know there's been a lot of success in our one-to-one program at the middle school and the high school, and part of that has been giving many, many examples of exemplar SMART goals, SMART goal steps for educators to adopt in their professional practice goals. So I know John and Ann have been very successful in doing that. I think I put some of the background that I think it was upwards of it's a fairly good number. 62 teachers took advantage of that, of those exemplar SMART goals. And then as we have over the last couple of years, providing parent information sessions, and that's something that we will continue very, very strong this coming school year. As far as where we still need to do more work or things that are in progress, creating and promoting a formal digital citizenship curriculum at all levels. I think we put a lot of time and effort into the one-to-one program, and we need to do more for our elementary teachers. I know that we've put a lot of emphasis into the smart boards and smart board training, but I know we have a lot of elementary teachers that are really chomping at the bits to look at other applications and other things that they can do with their kids. And then creating more PD and more structures. And again, it's about smart, purposeful technology integration using something known as the SAMR model, which stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. But it's essentially a model that says, okay, you've got something like iPads in the hands of kids. Don't use them as just glorified worksheets. How are you going to use them so that the kids can create something that they couldn't do without that technology? So really getting that type of PD or that type of structures, and specifically in the plan, we talk about our classroom walkthrough form, where we're really looking through a critical lens of how technology is being used in the classroom, and is it really being used to support higher order thinking. Then our last goal around streamlining communications and marketing the district, I think we have a lot of successes in this area. We've, in relatively short order over the last 6 weeks, we've updated and refreshed our school website. To be completely candid, we had no choice because our existing vendor was being taken over by another company, School Wires, so it was kind of like assimilate or die. So we've streamlined it, but we've used that opportunity to weed out a lot of old and outdated content and so on. We had the opportunity to have at least 3 events. The Blackstone Valley Ed Camp, which we did in November. We did a couple one-to-one open houses, both here and at NISCO for other educators. And then the second annual Community Eye Fair to showcase the practices that we were using in the district with regard to technology integration. I think we've done a lot as far as people having new digital spaces, whether they're blogging. I think we're up to now well over 80 educators across the district that are regular Twitter users using the hashtag MURSD. If you do a search of it, you'll see a whole treasure trove of news and events that are happening within our district. We are in the process and have, over the last 4 weeks now, converted to Gmail and to Google Calendar. And we'll do a demonstration at the next school committee meeting, but you'll find that with our new website and with our calendars all being consistently Google Calendars, it makes it a lot easier for our parents to sync any school or district-wide events onto their device. I know some of you have been involved with the work of our Spanish Immersion Parent Outreach Committee, who I think have done an exemplary job, again, marketing our district and specifically marketing the SI program. And I think as a result, we're looking at 2 strands of this year's incoming kindergarten class. And then last but not least, the visual budget application. Thank you, Jay, and thank you, Daniel Byer, for putting that together in a nice little source software package that's also linked on our school website, district website. As far as things that are still needed, yes, it's the bane of my existence, the district performance report. I do have it in draft form. I hope to get that out within the next 4 to 6 weeks. That's explicitly mentioned in our action plans. Some feedback that we got very, very strong in the K-12 Insight would be improving are mass emails that go out as far as content and quantity. So the good news is Blackboard Connect also got taken over by another company, and they're all merging into one. And what we're going to do is we're looking at parents having options of types of emails that will be sent to them. So if you want only sports-related emails, if you want only emails specific to a set of activities or to school-wide activities and so on, you'll have a menu of options to choose. We're also looking to put them as much of the content in HTML form as possible. One of the feedbacks was from some of our schools, they'd get a Blackboard Connect email and it would be a ton of PDF attachments so that you'd have to be clicking and clicking and clicking. So essentially what we're going to be rolling out this fall will be something that'll be a lot more streamlined, it'll be a lot more user-friendly. And then something that we didn't proceed on other than exploratory was to develop some type of unique logo to brand the district. If you notice that the overwhelming majority of our content, you always have the two town logos. Would it be nice if, like many regional school districts, we had our own unique logo? So that'll be something that we will explore further this coming school year. So that's a quick slosh through 15, 16 action plans. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I have one question in the technology area.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any data yet on the impact at the different grade levels through the technology and the inclusion of technology in the curriculum?
What type of data as far as student achievement, as far
student
as
achievement.
proficiency?
Really about student achievement. You know, like if we think about technology and its inclusion, and I'll say infusion into our curriculum and our programs, when we look at that at the 7th through 12th grade level, or 5th through 12th grade level, do we have any data yet from an assessment perspective that lets us understand the impact of that technology infusion?
I think we have a lot of data. I think the critical piece would be, can you necessarily take traditional measures, such as, just as an example, MCAS, and look at something like a 3-year span since we've had the one-to-one program and say, okay, there's been an increase in performance and therefore it is due to this technology integration. You could say that. Would it necessarily be accurate? I think you could have a healthy debate about that, because there could be numerous variables that went into it.
Well, there are new curriculum programs, there's other types of teaching and approaches that are there. I understand that, but it'd be interesting to understand that. If there are some items that we would put in there from a standpoint of, really district kind of or data that we can use to assess the impact of that technology. Because I know we constantly have that debate, and I think that's a debate that many parents engage and ask questions about at various different levels. I don't think there's any debate at the high school level. I think there's various different debates at different levels in middle school.
I agree. And one of the things that we are, if you recall from the technology plan, one of the things that we are pursuing is a formal evaluation of the one-to-one program, grades 5 through 12. A few districts have done it or are in the process of doing it, so we're entertaining, there's 3 or 4 different options, but a couple of the options that are the most appealing is through Boston College and through WPI, using some of their educational faculty, some of the research-based folks, to come out here, do classroom observations, but to look at multiple measures to actually do their best to answer that question.
So would that involve kind of a baseline, like establishing a baseline?
Mhm.
Because that is definitely a question that I share as well. Like if we're, particularly when it comes to a question of when is the best time to start implementing technology with students.
Mhm.
Is it 5th grade, or is it 7th grade, or is it 9th grade? You know, when is the best time? And I am asked that question a lot as well, and not having any, again, I understand why it's hard to tie data specifically to the technology, but what could we use then to be able to see its impact, to know its impact?
Yeah.
And whether it's positive or negative.
I think that is an important question, but I also think, I do hear some of that as far as the best time, but the question that I hear the most is, what's the so what of this? That if you ultimately are making this investment of resources, this investment of time, and the end point is not increased student achievement, why are you doing it? So I think you bring in somebody from the outside, you bring in some people who've really studied this, people who research this, who know what the multiple measures are to get to the heart of that question. And that'll be our goal over the first semester of this coming school year.
It's a good goal.
Any
So
other
that-
questions?
So then on the 12th, in September, we'll review the individual school plans.
District and school.
Great.
Okay. Correspondences, we have actually 2 correspondences from 2 of our teachers, Betsy Sadler and Sharon Middleman, that just recently retired, sending their thanks to the regional school committee for congratulatory gifts on their leaving. Should I read them, or?
It's your call.
Okay, I will read them. Dear members, this one is from Betsy Sadler. Dear members of the Mendon-Upton Regional School Committee, and lists everybody out, thank you for the beautiful Bulova picture frame clock and your well wishes on my retirement. It has been an honor to teach in the Mendon-Upton Regional School District for the majority of my teaching career. The memories I have of my students and their families with the amazing colleagues I was privileged to work with, know I will treasure them as I enter a new phase of my life. Sincerely, Betsy Sadler. Dear School Committee, I have received the very nice clock you sent me in appreciation of my years of service teaching at Nisco Hill School. I have it displayed on my bookshelves in my new home. Thank you all. Thank you for allowing me to teach in Mendon. Fondly, Sharon. So those are our 2 correspondences. Do we have any other matters not anticipated by the committee within 48 hours of posting? Okay. Future agenda items include a financial review of FY 2016's budget on August 22nd, and also an analysis and just a feedback on results of the K-12 Insight Survey. That's also on August 22nd. So I believe we are wrapping up. Did we just need a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 8:10.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you.